Oh, I've got a great topic for you today. I want to talk about gender identity and politics with inside modern polytheistic movements. And I'm going to reference some notes. I took down some notes so I can try to stay on topic because I ramble too much sometimes. There's been a growing trend in spiritual spaces lately talking about this. So, of course, I had to weigh in. Modern gender ideologies, things like trans or non-binary identities, are being treated not just as personal experiences, but as spiritual truths. As if gender identity itself has some deeper sacred meaning, as if it defines your place within magic or your role inside the divine. Let me be very clear. Spirituality doesn't care about your gender identity. It doesn't exclude you for whatever your gender identity is, but it also doesn't evaluate you because of it either. You can be a man or a woman and choose to identify however you want to identify and still walk a valid spiritual path. But identity itself isn't a spiritual qualification. It's not enlightenment, it's not insight, and it's not sacred because it's yours. Trying to force identity and spirituality is like trying to make your favorite food spiritual. It's completely irrelevant. It doesn't add to the journey and it doesn't take away from it. It's just personal. And there's nothing wrong with it. You know, if your personal views on stuff is your business. But let's stop pretending it's divine. Now, I want to be very clear on something. Gender dysphoria is a real thing. It's a medical and psychological condition, and people who are actually suffering from it, in my opinion, deserve compassion, respect, not mockery. But spirituality should not be twisted to validate feelings at the cost of truth. I'm very big proponent on sources, where things come from, and trying to twist and change what the sources are to fit your modern interpretations, to me, doesn't fly. That's actually one of the main things that inspired me to do this video. In my viewpoint, and this is the way I view it, just to be very clear on where I stand, there are only two sexes. That's not a moral judgment, it's just a biological reality. A man is male, a woman is female. End of story. That's just how the human body works, and it's how nature works. And yes, I realize that nature sometimes produces exceptions, but that doesn't mean the rules don't exist. It means we live in a messy, mysterious world where not everything fits cleanly. And honestly, that's kind of what makes the human experience so profound. But let's talk about spirit. Because what really matters, I'm going to quote a French philosopher and priest. It's a French name, so bear with me. Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. And he said, "We are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience," which I just think is absolutely profound. And I love that quote. Matter is a manifestation of the soul. The physical world is shaped by deeper forces than we can comprehend or even see. So our bodies matter, but they're not the whole story. And they're not ours to hate, deny, or rewrite. It is not the whole story, but it's still a manifestation of our deeper souls. We've manifested physically in this capacity for some reason. We exist as partially in the physical world. And I do believe that we are deeper and more complex spiritual beings outside of that. Now, ancient traditions, they had gender roles. We have plenty of evidence of this from archaeology and through culture. And this is not because they were ignorant, but because they understood how spirit expresses itself through form. It was also a survival thing. People had particular things that your biological body were naturally better at. Today, we have the luxury of having our society keep us surviving. You throw people out in the woods together, and you're going to see people fall back into gender roles real quick. Male and female were not social constructs. They were reflections of archetypical energies. But the real takeaway here, spirituality is not about your identity. It's about your humility. It's about what you do, how you live, and how you grow. No deity out there cares what pronouns you use, and no spirit's going to ask you for your labels. No tradition requires your identity politics. What matters is your intent, your honesty, and your willingness to walk a path rooted in truth, not trends. So express yourself. Wear what you like, love who you like, live your life however you want to live it. But when it comes to the sacred, bring your soul, not your ego. And that's what identity is, trying to identify a self and how you, that is ego, and that doesn't need to be there with inside of spirituality. That doesn't mean you can't have that. And like I said, do what you want, live your life how you want to live. Just don't press that on other people, and don't press that onto the past and try to rewrite history. Because the gods aren't asking who you are on paper. They're asking for who you are when no one is watching, your true self. And if you really want to walk a path of magic, then walk it honestly. Don't try to rewrite history. Don't turn your pain into a dogma. And don't confuse attention for transformation. Because real transformation doesn't need an audience. It needs courage. Courage to be yourself, to express yourself and explore who you are. And again, looking for this validation in others or to justify feelings, you don't need that. I hear people actually say, can I follow this path because I have this ideology, this viewpoint, this identity, this way of living my life? And in most cases, yeah, it doesn't matter. You can just practice that spirituality and adapt it. But be aware that there are certain spiritual groups don't like that. So just don't interact with them, especially when it comes to modern polytheism. Modern polytheism is an interpretation. People are not doing what they did in the past. All of these polytheistic views and paths are modern. They might be inspired by the path, but people have rewritten them to make it their own path. And a lot of these spiritual, polytheistic, pagan, heathen groups, the reality of the situation is there's not one overarching body that dictates what everyone should or can't do or believe. People make it a personal path, which is kind of my point. Don't push your political views or your identity politics into something that everybody is interpreting for themselves. Go back to the sources, read them yourself, get your inspiration, make up your own path. The only time it matters is if you're practicing with other people. So if you're curious if you can practice, yes, if you can practice with this specific group, ask that group and see how they view your personal lifestyle and see if they'll accept it or not. That's going to be the only difference there. So anyway, that's my thoughts. I just thought this was a hot topic. I know it's going to set some people off, but I don't care. I think it needs to be talked about. My biggest thing and the biggest thing that I wanted to bring up was people who try to change what is written history because they want it to fit the way they view the world themselves. And that needs to stop. The past is what it is. It's a record of what was. So don't push what has become a modern interpretation back into the past to make it fit for you. Draw your inspiration, do your own thing, and leave it alone. All right. Anyway, that's enough from me. Just remember, question everything, especially yourself. And I will catch you in the next one.